Look at a newborn's face, soft breath, unlearned trust. Now look at the ruins of war, cities broken by hands like ours. Which image reveals our nature? Are we born good, only to be corrupted, or born selfish, only to be tamed by rules? Across centuries, philosophers tried to answer, and their answers shaped laws, religions, revolutions. In this video, we step into their quarrel, not to watch from a distance, but to ask what their voices demand from our lives. In the glow of Athenian evenings, Plato imagines the soul reaching for a light beyond the cave, the form of the good, radiant, eternal, unchanging. To him, goodness is not a mask we wear, nor a habit we learn. It is a memory, a truth etched into the deepest part of the soul before birth. Like a sunflower straining toward the sun, the highest part of the soul is irresistibly drawn toward the good. Yet Plato is no dreamer lost in ideals. He knows the human heart is a battlefield. Appetite whispers with hunger, ambition tempts with power. When these lower forces take control, injustice erupts, the soul falls into chaos, and so does society. But philosophy, he insists, is a turning of the soul. It's a discipline that trains us to look steadily at reality, to align with harmony, to become truly just. But here's the haunting twist. Through Glaucon's tale of the ring of Gyges, Plato plants a seed of doubt. Imagine a ring that makes you invisible. With no fear of punishment, no eyes watching, would you still act justly? Or would your true nature, hidden beneath laws and customs, come to the surface? This is Plato's unsettling challenge. Are we good because goodness itself is worthy of love, or because we fear the weight of consequence? The question lingers, like smoke curling in the night air. It whispers to us still. Aristotle brings philosophy down to earth. To him, goodness is not a memory of another world, but a practice woven into this one. He asks us to look at life the way a gardener looks at a seed. What is the seed's purpose? To grow into its fullest form. And so too with us. The good life, Aristotle insists, is the life in which we flourish, where our potential is fulfilled. But how do we reach it? Not by abstract ideas alone, but through action. Virtue, for Aristotle, is like a skill. You become just by doing just acts, courageous by practicing courage, temperate by restraining desire. It is the steady training of the soul where habits sculpt character the way a sculptor chips at marble until the statue emerges. And yet, Aristotle doesn't give us an easy answer. Virtue, he says, is always a balancing act, a golden mean between extremes. Too much courage becomes recklessness, too little becomes cowardice. The good person learns to navigate the middle, not by rigid rules but by wisdom, by judgment, by learning to dance with life's complexities. Unlike Plato, who asked whether we would still be just if unseen, Aristotle raises another challenge. Can you become truly good without practicing it daily, in small choices, in the fabric of ordinary life? For him, goodness is not a question of theory. It is the rhythm of living well. Centuries later, Augustine listens to his restless heart. He notices a tension that is unmistakably human. The heart desires the good, but often in the wrong way. We are drawn to ourselves, to pride, to possession, bending even beauty into mirrors of our own longing. For Augustine, evil is not a separate substance lurking in the world. It is misdirected love, a turning away from the highest good. He calls this condition original sin. Not as a punishment, but as a recognition of a flaw we feel intuitively, the crack in our nature that distorts desire. We are not born evil, nor are we effortlessly good. We are brilliant, capable, yet flawed. Our will remains free, yet it is wounded. Left to ourselves, we may stumble, repeat errors, or exalt the small over the sublime. But grace, through reflection, discipline, and community, can reorder our loves, realign our hearts, and allow us to choose rightly. Augustine's insight is deeply hopeful. Human nature is a tapestry threaded with light and shadow, and understanding the crack is the first step toward mending it. In his view, to confront our misdirected loves is to awaken to the possibility of true goodness, not as a mere habit, but as a choice we cultivate with awareness, intention, and care. Travel east to early China, where Mencius observes children playing near a well. Instinctively, he knows that if a child were about to fall, anyone watching would feel alarm, concern, even rush to help. From this spark of spontaneous empathy, he concludes that humans are naturally inclined toward goodness. Our hearts contain seeds of virtue, compassion, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom, but like any seed, they require cultivation. Society, education, and reflection nurture these seeds into moral actions. Mencius sees evil not as a human birthright, but as the result of neglect, corruption, or a life that starves these innate capacities. Goodness is latent, waiting for the right conditions to flourish. Yet Xunzi offers a starkly different vision. In the same bustling villages of China, he observes people driven by desire, envy, and self-interest. For him, left alone, human nature bends toward disorder, greed, and conflict. Virtue is not natural. It is hard-won, a product of ritual, education, and disciplined effort. Ethics are scaffolds we build to shape unruly impulses into harmony, like a sculptor chiseling a rough stone into form. Without structure, he warns, society would descend into chaos, and human selfishness would reign unchecked. For Xunzi, goodness is a crafted achievement, not an instinctive gift. Centuries later, Hobbes casts a shadow over this vision. He doesn't see people as seeds growing naturally, toward virtue or souls stretching toward eternal light. Instead, he asks us to imagine life without laws, without kings, without order, just raw human beings left to themselves. What does he find? Not harmony, not balance, but chaos. For Hobbes, our natural state is a war of all against all. Without rules, life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. We are driven by fear, by the hunger for power, by the instinct to survive. Trust is fragile, because anyone, friend, neighbor, stranger, might strike if given the chance. This is why Hobbes insists that we are not naturally good. We are naturally dangerous. Goodness, in his eyes, is not born from within. It is enforced. We create governments, kings, social contracts, not because we love justice for its own sake, but because we dread the alternative. Order is the cage we build to contain our darker impulses. And so Hobbes presses us with a chilling question. If goodness depends on fear and control, can it ever truly be called good? Or is morality nothing more than a fragile peace treaty signed under the shadow of violence? Then comes Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a voice like a mountain stream cutting through Hobbes' dark forest. Where Hobbes sees humans as wolves to each other, Rousseau sees something gentler, more innocent. He asks us to strip away palaces, cities, and the trappings of civilization. Imagine the human being in the wild. No crowns, no coins, no kings. What does Rousseau find there? Not war, not cruelty, but a creature moved by two simple instincts: the drive to survive and the capacity for compassion. For Rousseau, humans are not born evil. We are born free, tender, capable of empathy. Man is born free, he declares, and everywhere he is in chains. What corrupts us is not our nature, but society itself. The hunger for property, the climb for status, the inequality between rich and poor, these forge jealousy, pride, and violence. Civilization teaches us comparison, and in comparison, envy blooms. Where Hobbes makes government the savior of humanity, Rousseau makes it the culprit. The closer we move to society's glittering promises, the further we drift from our natural innocence. And so, he dares us to imagine a radical possibility. To recover goodness, we must unlearn the poisons of pride, greed, and domination. Rousseau's question lingers, almost utopian, almost heartbreaking. If we are born pure, but society corrupts us, is there a way back to that lost innocence, or is the garden forever closed? In 18th century Edinburgh, Hume watches human life. He notices that we are moved not by abstract reason alone, but by feelings, sympathy, empathy, and passion. For Hume, humans are neither inherently virtuous nor wicked. Our morality flows from our sentiments. We approve of kindness, courage, and generosity because they stir agreeable feelings in ourselves and others. We recoil from cruelty and deceit because they spark discomfort and pain. Reason, he argues, is a servant of the passions, a tool to navigate the world. but it does not create moral obligation on its own. Goodness emerges when our natural sentiments align with actions that promote social harmony, while evil arises when selfish desires override sympathy. Hume's insight is subtle, yet profound. Human nature is a dynamic interplay of feeling and habit, shaped by context, society, and experience. We are not born saints nor devils, but creatures whose moral compass is guided by the delicate dance of empathy and desire. Kant answers differently. Humans, he says, are bound by reason, capable of universal moral laws. For Kant, goodness is not a matter of inclination or sentiment, it is the will itself aligned with duty. Even when our desires pull us toward selfish ends, we can choose to act according to principles that could be willed as universal laws. What he calls the categorical imperative. Evil, then, is the deliberate choice to place personal desires above moral duty, a turning away from the law reason prescribes. Humans are not purely good by instinct. We are moral agents, endowed with the capacity to act ethically, even against our own inclinations. Kant imagines the moral life as a rigorous training of the will, a discipline that tempers natural impulses with reasoned principles. In this light, human nature is neither simply virtuous nor vicious. It is the arena in which freedom, reason, and responsibility wrestle, and where the possibility of true moral greatness emerges. Nietzsche interrupts, laughing at Hobbes and Rousseau. Good and evil are not eternal truths. They are inventions, masks, weapons forged in the long struggle for power. Once, in the dawn of humanity, good meant strength, vitality, the overflowing power of life itself. To be noble was to affirm existence, to act boldly, to create. But over time, the weak, those who could not conquer, rebelled. They flipped the script. They called the strong evil and their own weakness good. Thus was born what Nietzsche calls slave morality, a morality of resentment. Suddenly, humility became a virtue, ambition a sin, and the powerful were chained by guilt. Good and evil, Nietzsche insists, are not truths but shifting strategies in the human game of survival and dominance. So, when we ask, are humans naturally good or evil? Nietzsche refuses the question. He would say, those words blind us, they tame us. What matters is not whether we are good or evil, but whether we are strong enough to create our own values, to live authentically, to say yes to life in all its terror and beauty. For Nietzsche, the real danger is not that humans are evil. It is that we are small, fearful, clinging to borrowed morals instead of daring to carve our own path. So his challenge echoes like thunder. Will you keep living under the shadow of someone else's good? Or will you break free and become who you are? In Vienna, Freud peers into the hidden depths of the human mind. He sees a turbulent battlefield within us, instincts, drives, and desires clashing beneath the calm surface of civilized life. Humans are not born moral or immoral. They are born with raw impulses, powerful and sometimes destructive. Civilization teaches us to repress and redirect these instincts, shaping behavior through law, norms, and conscience. Evil, in Freud's view, is not an abstract force, but emerges when the dark, unconscious drives erupt unchecked, when repression fails or frustration overwhelms reason. Understanding this inner conflict, he suggests, is the first step toward mastering ourselves. Centuries later, Arendt examines totalitarianism, asking how ordinary people commit extraordinary evil. She introduces the phrase, the banality of evil, showing that evil is often not monstrous or passionate, but disturbingly ordinary, a result of failing to think critically, exercise judgment, or care for others and the world. For Arendt, humans have the capacity for goodness, but they also have the capacity for thoughtless conformity. Moral life demands attention, reflection, and courage. Evil flourishes when people abandon these responsibilities, not necessarily from hatred, but from thoughtlessness. Science joins the conversation. Infants prefer helpers over hinderers, but they also show quick bias toward their own group. Goodness can sprout, but selfishness grows fast. Adults share fairly at a cost, yet cheat when no one's watching. In the brain, empathy spreads across networks, and oxytocin boosts trust in some, suspicion in others. Humans are built for kindness and cruelty. Which rises depends on context and care. If we are both, seed of compassion, spark of aggression, are we guilty for the shadow we inherit, or responsible for the garden we grow? If cruelty is natural, does it excuse it? If kindness is natural, why betray it? Perhaps the question is not what we are, but what we can become. The currents within us are strong. Will we let them run wild, or guide them with attention and courage? Think of an ordinary day. You are tired, someone cuts you off, teeth clench, words burn. A friend calls in tears, and a softer part wakes. Two currents, one body. What grows depends on attention. Aristotle's practice, Mencius' cultivation, Xunzi's discipline, Kant's duty, Hume's warmth, all become daily tools. Rituals, laws, friendships, stories, art, and silence shape us. We are not fixed essences, but unfinished symphonies, tuned by our choices. From Plato, we inherit the call to aim at something truly good beyond convenience. From Aristotle, the craft of character, habits that make goodness easier tomorrow than it was today. Augustine names our fracture and our need for help beyond pride. Mencius trusts the sprouts of virtue in our hearts, while Xunzi reminds us to pull the weeds of selfishness. Hobbes warns that fear breeds violence if no common power restrains us. Rousseau warns that corrupt power breeds fear. Hume teaches that sympathy warms our moral world. Kant insists we still owe what is right, whether we feel it or not. Nietzsche provokes us to create values that affirm life, not shrink it. Freud humbles us with our inner storms. Arendt cautions that systems can launder evil into routine. And science, with all its instruments, whispers what the wise already knew. We are both capable and vulnerable. Context is a sculptor, and practice is destiny. So, are humans naturally good or evil? The truest answer may be this: we are naturally unfinished. We carry compassion ready to awaken, aggression ready to ignite, reason ready to steer, and habits ready to harden. Nature gives us the clay. Character gives it form. Good and evil are not just what we are. They are what we become by the loves we choose. The rules we keep, the stories we believe, and the worlds we build together. If you want to test, here it is. Tomorrow, in the small places where no one is watching, act as if someone you love will live with the consequences. Water the better seed. Straighten the crooked wood. Create a value worthy of your strength. Then repeat. Which do you feel lies deepest within us, kindness or cruelty? What experiences in your life have shaped your view? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story is part of this conversation. And if this journey sparked something in you, continue exploring in the next video on PhiloWhisp.